What's up, Tea Cats? Dylan here from Moo Mountain Tea. This video is an introduction to the 8-chapter masterclass on tea that I have just finished filming and editing tirelessly over the last 6 months. I just want to give an introduction of the masterclass, explain how it's laid out, and then give a quick intro on myself and explain why I even had the gall in the first place to make a masterclass on tea. In other words, what are my credentials in the space of tea, and why is anything I have to say about tea even worth listening to in the first place? So let's start with the class and then we'll get back to me at the end. So we got 8 chapters here, and each chapter tackles a different aspect, different angle of the world of tea. And together these 8 chapters form a cohesive and complete picture of all the information that you would need to embark on a lifelong journey of tea enjoyment and appreciation. Each chapter is laid out like this. We start with a 1-sentence summary, which gives you a bit of a framework and a roadmap to have in the back of your mind as we step into this new territory. Then I play my little hype reel, which I will admit is a bit gratuitous, but the hype reel gets you fired up to learn about tea. You gotta be fired up if you wanna learn about tea, so I like it. After the hype reel's done, we step on the gas pedal as hard as possible and proceed to fill our brains with as much tea information as we can within the 20 to 45 minute time frame of each chapter. We do go fast in these chapters. You're gonna need to watch each video more than once if you really want to retain all the information presented. I figured it was better to go faster than slower, right? You can always pause and rewind a section if you want to hear it again, but I do want to be conscious of your time by not going too slowly. All 8 of the chapters, their titles, and a quick description of what they cover is in the description of this video. I would recommend watching them in order because we do build upon each chapter, right? Each chapter will reference things that we've already covered in previous chapters. But if you see one that catches your eye, you want to jump right to that one, be my guest. Lastly, we have a PDF document, one large PDF, which takes the figures and graphics of each chapter and the main takeaways from each chapter, compiles them into one PDF. That's available for free download using the links in the description of this video. Down there, you'll also see linked, I made 6 more PDF documents, which are blank rubrics for assessing the 6 different tea types. Each of the 6 tea types has a slightly different set of criteria for taste, aroma, color, and shape, as well as different things to look for with each tea type. So I have one rubric for each tea type, which has the criteria for that tea type, as well as kind of like a cheat sheet on it, which indicates what really you should be looking for and gives you some vocabulary that you can use to start learning how to assess those specific tea types. The free downloads are linked in the description of this video. Don't miss out on those. You can print them out and have them next to you when you're watching the videos. Let's talk about me for a second. I'll introduce myself and explain who the heck am I and what the heck am I doing here talking about tea. So my path with tea started over 10 years ago when I moved to China in high school to study Chinese language and culture. You know, I studied the language for a few years intensively, and I started working as a translator for companies that wanted to do business in China. One of those companies, as fate would have it, was a tea company, and they were trying to source premium Chinese tea and export it to Europe. So at the ripe old age of 19, I was tasked with the job of moving to southern China, sourcing a bunch of premium tea, packing it up, and exporting it to Switzerland. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I found out pretty quick that the world of tea is way more vast than I could have ever imagined. And for the next few months living in these tea markets in southern China, I was just sitting with tea masters and tea experts at their tea tables, sipping tea with them, trying to learn as much as I could about the world of tea. And I learned more than anything else that I love tea. Really, the world of tea combines a few different things that I love. Number one is a health promoting plant. And I'm constantly reading and listening to podcasts about optimal diets and exercise habits and sleep habits and mental health habits. I think that health is wealth, and anything that promotes human health is interesting to me. Number 2, tea is intertwined with Eastern history and philosophy and tradition. And that is part of what pulled me into studying Chinese language and culture in the first place, is this Eastern philosophy. A lot about Buddhism and Taoism is really intertwined with tea history, which is cool. And thirdly, I love agriculture, actually. I'm from a predominantly farming region of upstate New York, and I've been surrounded by farms my whole life. And I've always had a lot of admiration for farmers who can work with nature to produce really healthy, vigorous, nutritious crops, right? This is like the foundation of human civilization, is producing food. Learning about the agronomic principles that govern tea field management and how those impact tea quality and the resilience and health of tea crops is really interesting to me. So for all these reasons, I fell head over heels in love with tea, and I wanted to learn as much about tea as I possibly could. So after these few months doing this job, I finished up my undergrad degree in Chinese studies, and I enrolled in graduate school in China in the field of tea science. At this agricultural university in southern China, they have a major, an academic focus, a degree program in tea science. And that might sound unusual to someone from a non-tea producing country, but it makes perfect sense. Ag schools are always studying the crops that have the greatest economic and social importance to the surrounding region, right? In the United States, for example, we have pomology, right? Studying apples. We have viticulture, studying grapevines. We have people who focus their whole academic careers on just corn or soybeans, right? That's important to people in that part of the world. In China, it's the same principle. They study rice, they study lychees, they study tea. So I signed up for tea science graduate school, and I, again, had no idea what I was getting myself into. But you can imagine me sitting day one, graduate level, tea leaf biochemistry and tea processing, and it's all taught in Chinese, by the way, right? I'm the only non-Chinese guy at the whole college. Basically, all of my field work, coursework, and lab work for the next 5, 6, 7 years has all been in Chinese. It was really hard at first, but I kind of just stuck with it. And over these last few years, it's been the strangest, most difficult, but ultimately the most exciting adventure that I could have ever imagined. This path with tea science academia has taken me to countless tea farms all over southern China. I've been able to study directly under some of China's brightest tea scholars and tea science academics. I've been able to study and live and work alongside Chinese tea masters, sometimes for weeks and months at a time, living on their tea farms and studying and learning from them. And I've really developed an intimate knowledge and relationship with the tea plant, both in the field and in the laboratory. So basically, I finished my master's degree in tea science in 2020, and today I am currently defending my PhD dissertation, also in tea science. And depending on when you're watching this video, knock on wood, I may or may not have already gotten that degree. So that kind of brings you up to where I am today. And if you want a deeper look at my academic research projects in the past, I've linked all of my academic publications and research articles in the description of this video. My research has really touched on a pretty wide range of topics within the world of tea science, but my main focus and what I'm doing now for my PhD work and what I hope to continue to do into the future is research sustainable tea cultivation practices and their effects on soil health, the soil health of tea fields and the soil microbial communities that inhabit those soils and the roots of tea plants. When we use these sustainable management practices, we create a healthier, more hospitable soil environment for these beneficial microbes to thrive. And then they form these symbiotic relationships with tea plant roots, which create more healthy, vigorous, resilient tea crops and eventually, better, higher quality tea. So that's what I love focusing on. That's my current research topic, and that's really the center of my passion within tea science. But again, I love all things related to tea. As a final little credential, I recently passed the Chinese government issued tea sommeliers exam, which is a multi-day test of theoretical and applied knowledge in tea tasting and tea quality assessment, which is an exam offered only in Mandarin Chinese, which is why very few, if no other non-Chinese people have passed this exam. And it really actually is my proficiency in Chinese that has allowed me to explore this whole vast world of Chinese tea. There's so much knowledge, both written and unwritten, about tea in China that remains untranslated from Chinese. And it's really through being able to speak and read Chinese that I was able to enter the graduate program, first of all, but also go and live and study under tea masters. out in the Chinese countryside. In the process of creating this masterclass and the course in each of the 8 chapters, I translated a ton of information directly from Chinese source texts. And actually, it's now being presented in this masterclass in English for the very first time. That's a big part of the appeal of this masterclass and the channel Wu Mountain Tea in general, is that I'm kind of helping non-Chinese speaking people access this vast world of information about tea that would otherwise only be available to Chinese speakers. So that's a bit about me, a bit about the project here with Wu Mountain Tea, and about this masterclass, and why I deem myself qualified to make YouTube videos about tea, and more so why I think it's acceptable to call it a masterclass, right? This really is a massive chunk of all the information that I've learned over the last decade of researching tea intensively in China, packaged up and delivered to your doorstep here on the YouTube. So I think you're gonna absolutely love this masterclass. And if you do find value in it and you feel like supporting the Wu Mountain Tea project here, there's a couple ways you can do that with links that I have added also in the description of this video. If you have questions, comments, ideas for me about future videos, please reach out to me. Comment on the video here or DM me on Instagram. There's a few ways you can contact me. Until the next video, hopefully you close this video and start with chapter 1. Until the next video, I hope that you stay healthy, that you stay positive, and you keep sipping tea. One love.